I paused it because I got in here early. I don't want to record myself just breathing. It was weird. But we are recording this, by the way. But if you have any questions, feel free to post it into the chat. Oh, and is my buddy Oscar in here? Hi, Oscar. um, if you
May
have a
have been
question,
the
post it
one.
in the chat. I will try my absolute best to answer it on the spot. I also enabled the feature that if you really want to unmute yourself, you can unmute yourself and ask a question. I'm totally okay with that. However, sometimes our questions get to be a little bit long, and I like to talk, and we only have an hour together. So if it's something very, very long, I'm going to ask you very nicely to just please, please, please email me, and I promise I will get back to you. I've also have been really good about updating my presentation with any questions that people have asked. I just put like some notes at the bottom, like a FAQ, like a frequently asked questions thing. So no worries, okay? If I don't get to you, I will answer your question. So we are going to move on. Just in case, I have my email address posted here as well. And then I also have a link on this slide where it says make an appointment with Annette. Again, if you have something that's a little bit more detailed that you need a little bit more information about, if you just want someone to look at a course that you're working on, if you want to just learn how to do something, make an appointment with me. That's totally okay. And I have no problem sitting with you. I could even meet with your PLC, whatever you like. If you want to learn more about whether it's Canvas or another app that we support, I am totally, totally willing to do that as well. We are a pretty big team now. We've hired a couple of new people. And if you look at each one of our descriptions, it kind of tells you, it gives you an idea of what we support. But the instructional systems team, we mostly support Canvas, um, Microsoft Teams, WebEx, pretty much anything that has anything to do with Launchpad. And then we also recently adopted textbooks. That used to be part of the media specialist group, but now our team will be supporting textbooks as well. If you ask me a question about textbooks today, I may not be able to answer it because I'm very new at that part. But if it's something about, why don't I see my book yet? Or how do I get a demo? That I can answer because that we've always done. Um, but specific stuff, I might just refer you to Wilma because she might know more than I do about textbooks at this point. All right, so we are gonna move on, and just one more thing I wanted to kind of front load before we dived in was pre-planning week. We are gonna be having several Canvas sessions, so if Canvas is your jam, please check them out. I believe there is a memo coming out July 21st with all of the PD offerings that digital learning will have. Our team also does Land School Air as well, and Land School is doing some sessions as well. If you've never used Land School, I would definitely check those out as well. And we are recording those, so if you want to check them out later, you can. And if we happen to have any resource teachers that might also be a Canvas admin at the school, we have a session for you if you're interested. It kind of teaches you like the mechanical weird stuff about Canvas. So that's always good to check out as well. All right, so earlier in the chat, I did post a link to your Canvas course that you're all enrolled in. All of you should be in this 9th through 12th grade BEST course. If not, I'm going to post that link one more time in the chat. That is not what I wanted to do. No. I swear to you, I am clicking on the chat. Here we go. There we go. That's the link in the chat. When you click on this, it should take you to a course that looks like this. And then on the left-hand side, you have a button that says modules, and that's how you're going to get to my sample modules. So if you scroll all the way down, you should see something with my name on it. It'll say using Canvas in the math classroom. It'll have today's date, all that good stuff. And also my presentation is linked there as well. So if you lose this link, everything is there, I promise you. And if for whatever reason I don't get to talk about everything is linked there as well. So I try my best to give you stuff. All right, so what we are going to do first, we are going to talk about Canvas new quizzes. Some of you might have used them, some of you might have not used them. We are actually going to be transitioning to new quizzes officially in May of 2023. So if you're used to the old version of quizzes, we call that classic quizzes, those are going to go away. I don't want to scare you, but they will be what I believe the term is sunset. It will be sunset by that time. So if you've never used it, we're going to try out a couple of quizzes. So I'm going to put 2 minutes on the clock, and I would like all of you to try either the quiz that I called sample new quiz or this one where it says generic sample quiz. Doesn't matter which one you do. You don't have to try hard on these quizzes. Just click, click, click through it. I just want you to experience it. Okay, so don't worry about getting an A. I promise I won't grade you officially. And yeah, Sherry, I will talk about that. So don't worry. And Wendy, I know that you're saying no, but it is a yes. There is a solution for you. So one more time, if you're lost, you should be in the modules in the Canvas course, and you're going to try out one of these awesome quizzes here, either sample new quiz or generic sample quiz. The one that says sample is a math one that I copied from someone. And then the generic one, I did make it. It's not as mathy. It's about movies. So Wendy, the Canvas course, I will link it right here again in the chat. It's that second link. That's the course that you've been in, I suspect, this week for the BEST Institute. Yep, it's the BEST course. So if you click there and then you go to modules on the left-hand side, you'll see my module. I just put my stuff in their course, in Wilma's course. You're welcome, Wendy. Oh, yes. Yeah, Mary, there is a broken picture and I keep forgetting to replace it. It's in that sample quiz. When I copied it from the other person, the picture didn't carry over. And then when I went to look at their quiz, they didn't have the picture either. So something happened to that picture, but I apologize for that. Just pretend there's a picture there and it goes with the 3 questions that are next to it. Okay, so you've had about 2 minutes. Even if you didn't get to finish the quiz, we're going to talk a little bit about these quizzes and I'm going to show you a couple of things. Just to kind of quickly highlight a couple things about new quizzes. Most of those question types are automatically graded for the teacher. And this picture that's on this slide shows all of the current question types available for new quizzes. Some of them are different from what was originally available with those classic quizzes. Some other new things that you might not be used to if you've been using classic quizzes, it gives you the ability as a teacher to submit for a student. So sometimes I've had kids that will take the quiz and they're like, I did the quiz, and I don't see it. It's because they never clicked a button to submit it. Now the teacher can just go in and click submit for the kid and everyone can move on with their lives. The other thing that's neat is you can now add wait time in between quizzes. So if you want students to retake a quiz, you can enforce a wait time between their 2 times that they will take the quiz, which is kind of cool. You can also add calculators to questions. I can't remember if that was really a feature with classic quizzes or not, so I added that in there. But it is available and it is a scientific calculator or a regular 4-function calculator. And you can assign it to individual questions. You can also add accommodations, extra time, and extra attempts. What's neat about this, especially with accommodations, you can also adjust accommodations for all quizzes that they will ever take in your class. So if you have several students with an IEP that require, let's say, time and a half, whenever you assign time to a quiz, the Canvas will already know that this student will get this amount of time. So that's a neat feature. I don't believe that existed at all in classic quizzes. And as was mentioned in the chat, and as I mentioned earlier, classic quizzes will be phased out in May of 23. I linked, at the bottom here in the notes, and I think I made a whole slide for it, the memo itself that talks about that. But if you look at the notes, yes, the classic quizzes are going to be phased out, but there is a migration feature. So you can migrate questions into new quizzes. So if you've already made a lot of quizzes, those things will be migrated um, into new quizzes, and you can do it now if you would like to. Also, in May of 2024, if you haven't already migrated all your old stuff, I think the system will automatically do it for you. So if you have more questions about that, you can totally email me. We can talk a little bit more about that. Um, it is apparently gotten better. I know in the beginning it did not look that great. I know there was a few complaints, but they have improved it from what I'm understanding. So if you had an issue, you might want to try it out again. um, there is also, and I didn't write it on this slide, but you do have the ability now with new quizzes to create banks of tests and to share those banks. And you can also make individual item banks, which is really neat if you just want to make a test and pull questions from multiple tests. So that's another new feature, which I don't believe existed with the classic quiz as well. So I'm going to take a peek at some of our quizzes that some of you did. So I'm going to click on this generic one. And hopefully some of you took this quiz. If not, we'll go to the math one. We'll see. All right. And we're going to pretend like I had filled all of this out. I didn't have a due date for this quiz, but if you want to edit a quiz ever, this is kind of different from classic. You're going to click on this build button at the bottom, and this will take you to your editing screen. It looks different, but once you do a couple questions, I promise you, you'll get used to this. And let's see what we got. All right, so I wanted to show you a couple of the question types that I think are different, and then we're going to look at some features, and we're going to look at some individual scores, let's say. So for this particular quiz, I tried to do every single question type, and I just chose a theme that I knew very well, which was movies. So my first question that I do not believe existed at all in classic quizzes was this hotspot question. Students had to click on something on a graph. Hopefully you got it right. um, this is really neat. You could use this for all sorts of things. You can use it when you're looking at a data table of some kind, if you want them to click on a piece of a longer equation or a formula or a graph. I could see a lot of applications for this in math. So this is a really neat question type that is different. Some questions that have existed before, but maybe were not highly used are these types of questions. This one is the categorization question. It's like a sort. So you could use it to sort terms, vocabulary, um, features of a number. Okay, you can get very creative. I've seen people do all sorts of fun things with this type of question. Okay, and then this one is a fill in the blank. Okay, and that's what it looks like again from the teacher side. You guys all
Ask a
got to
question about
experience.
number 3.
Yes.
So on that one, I see a problem that I've run into, and it's that if you put the same choices on the 3 different parts, then you have words like you've got romance more than one, and if they pick the wrong romance to go into that block, it's going to mark it wrong, even though they got the answer correct.
Yes. So I believe, let me see. Oh, hold on. Okay, so for this one, it won't let me edit it because people have already started to take my test. So fill in the blank is, as you said, the person has to write it exactly how you put it in. So I wouldn't probably use this for everything. I would be very selective about what I do use it for. Um, why I have romance 3 times? Oh no, I have it twice.
I can
I
tell you
cannot
why you have it 3
remember.
times. That's what my question is. Because
Uh,
that's where you've done it for the fill in the blank, you've done drop downs, but you have in each drop down you've got the same words. So
oh, I
instead of giving
repeated it.
you
Is that
one to
why?
drag into each place, you've got all 3, and if they drag the romance from question 2 into 1, it'll get it wrong, but there's no way to know which one is which.
You're 100% correct. Okay, so yeah, I did not think about that when I made this question. I apologize. So that is a really, really, really good point. Who's this speaking anyway? Is that Wendy?
Wendy nail.
Thank you so much, Wendy. But yes, I forgot when I need to fix this for another class that I'm doing next week. But That is a good point. If you have multiple versions of the same thing, you may want to avoid that because it will frustrate your students and it will frustrate you. But also, fill in the blank is also one of those questions that I would use it very sparingly in general. It's not my favorite. I think I like the categorization one better for this type of situation.
You actually run into the same thing with categorization. If
Oh,
you've got more than one to go into each block. It's just something I ran into a lot.
you got to build them carefully. That's the only thing. My next favorite one, though, is the stimulus question. This one is newer. This is kind of neat. So instead of having to duplicate multiple questions that might use the same prompt or have the same image, you could just have it one time. It's called the stimulus. And then on the right-hand side, you can have the associated questions that will go with it. So that is also relatively new. And then I think this one, I also tried to do the ordering. Mary, that's a good question. Does categorization let you use more words than necessary? You know what? I think it does because I have done this question with some that didn't have to go into a category. So I believe it does.
Okay, I
But if
use
you
drop
want, write me
downs
an email and
more.
we could try it out.
Okay, I use drop downs more than I use categorization. That's
Yeah.
the only reason why I was asking. Okay, thank you.
Because I saw someone who did a quiz a couple of weeks ago and I believe they had some that did not fit into any of the categories. But we ended up not using that question for the quiz we were making because it did throw off the students. So that would be another one that I would use sparingly unless you really need a tricky question. All right, and Marie, I get it. New quizzes, it is new. It looks really different from classic quizzes. It is a learning curve for all of us. And you're even talking to someone who's been using Canvas for a long time. But there are a lot of cool things about it, and it can only get better. So I will not argue with you there. All right, so a couple of other things I wanted to point out to everybody. At the very top, kind of the left side of the screen, you have some other things that you can check out. So you do have a settings page. This is where you can enable the calculator. I have a reports page, so I can see how my whole class did. I can see how people did on particular items. Maybe no one took this quiz. Maybe I just need to refresh. Reports. Oh, moderate. All right, and this is my personal favorite. Okay, so some people did actually take this quiz. All right, so this is my personal favorite tab here, which is the moderate tab. And you have a couple of things on moderate. Actually, I'm going to show you what that slide looks like because I made a really pretty picture. You have two things. You have the ability to do accommodations that will apply to all future quizzes, not just this one that you're editing. And then moderate just lets you adjust time for that particular quiz. So I have some notes on how to do that on my slide. And someone at our last session actually had a really good question about kids not being able to finish within a class period and what to do in that situation. Essentially, you just have to open up the quiz for them again. And I put some notes at the bottom of my slide about that. So if you run into that issue, especially with your kiddos that have IEPs that need extended time, or any of your ELL kids that you would like to offer some extended time to, I would definitely check that out. How do you reopen a quiz? That's how you could help them finish if they didn't get to finish within a period, but it wasn't necessarily a timed quiz. Okay. But definitely check out that accommodations, the moderations tab. When you click on moderate, it allows you to add additional attempts. It allows you to reopen the quiz. You can quickly give additional time. I mean, this part is really nice. I think it's pretty user-friendly compared to what it looked like in classic quizzes. Okay, and then I can still see if a person's still in progress, where they left off. So you can get quite a bit of information by clicking around on that moderate tab. All right, and then if I'm going to go back to build. All right, and if I go back to build, I can add this to a bank, and then I can also preview what the quiz looks like before I send it out to students, which is nice as well. So if I click on preview, this is what it looks like for the students when they see it on their end. All right, and I'm going to exit. All right, we are going to move on because it is already 1:16. Do we have Any other final big questions? If it's a really, really big question, I'm going to ask that you email me. Is reopen continuing the same quiz or a new attempt? Good question, Doris. I believe it is continuing the same quiz. Can students pause a quiz? There is no option to pause. So essentially, if they just close the tab, close the browser, their quiz is over. If they leave it open, the quiz will remain open until the session times out or, you know, their computer runs out of battery. Am I going to show how to build a quiz? No, I am not. We will not have time to do that. The idea is to just show you several things that you can utilize within Canvas that'll be fun for a math class. However, if you need explicit directions on how to build a quiz, on my very, very first slide related to quizzes, at the bottom, I highlighted it in yellow. There, I have a whole presentation on just quizzes. And it shows you how to do each quiz, question type. And then, because I always have very specific questions from teachers. You guys are good at asking these questions. So this resources page or slide, I should say, I have this first link. Every single solitary guide available related to new quizzes is linked there. And then I have some other ones that I usually get questions about. So how do I make an item bank? How do I share a bank? How do I make a formula question? How do I do the moderation? Any of those types of questions I've linked here as well. And again, if you need some more help with this, you are free to make an appointment with me and I can work with you or I can meet with a PLC, whatever you like. Okay, so a couple more things I want to show you today because I got a lot of good stuff and I hope that you're going to walk away with at least one thing that you will try in your class this year. So another big question that I usually get from folks, especially if they're a little bit hesitant about using Canvas, is the whole idea of being able to monitor the students while they're working on their computers. So if you've never used this one before, I highly recommend that you try it out. It's called the Respondus Lockdown Browser. This isn't really something I can demonstrate for you because, of course, I don't have all of you rostered to me in Skyward and you're not actual OCPS students. But the way that this works is Respondus is a little program. It's an app that's installed in the background on all of the student devices. And whenever the teacher enables it on their end, okay, it essentially keeps the kids locked down within the Canvas quiz that they're supposed to be taking. So it's really, really, really neat. If you've tried it before and you were having some issues with it these last 2 years, remember the kids didn't have to turn in their devices the last 2 years, so their laptop might not have been getting updated, but I know that this year they were all forced to turn them in. So hopefully all of the kids' laptops will be up to date. And of course, if you do run into an issue, put in a tech request to your TSR so that they can update the student's laptop. Okay, but definitely check this out. If you need instructions, if you need a tutorial, I put some resources on there for you, but it's definitely worth checking out, especially if you have a class that you really want to kind of have focused on the task at hand and not disappear off into YouTube or, you know, Googling the answer to your questions. I would definitely try this one out. I've heard that it's awesome for the people that it does work for. Another thing to try out is this idea of doing module requirements. So within Canvas, and I'll show you what it looks like for me on my screen. You click return to get out of here. But when I'm looking at a module, and I'll play with my module, I won't touch other people's modules. I have these 3 dots at the very top of my module. I can add a module requirement. So if I click on the edit button, I have this thing that says edit module settings. So I can lock my module until a certain time. I can add a prerequisite. I can add a requirement. So what that does, and I think it would be a really neat idea, especially if you're doing something like centers or you have, maybe you use, you have some different groupings or you have maybe kids rotating to different activities in your classroom, you can lock modules until it's that person's designated time to start a module, or you can have a module locked until they've completed another task to prevent the student from, like, doing 5 assignments, within 10 minutes, and that person probably didn't try on any of those assignments. So this is one of those things that can come in pretty handy as well, and is another tool that you can utilize when you're trying to monitor the students and just keep them engaged and focused on the task at hand. So if you have never tried module requirements, check it out. It is also a neat tool to try out, and I do have the guide link there as well. In fact, I used a module requirement today, because if you logged in yesterday to that Canvas course, you probably didn't see my module, but it was there. It was there in the background. It was just locked until this time. So it is a cool, cool feature. So a couple of other things we're going to try today. We're going to talk about something called external tools. Okay. If you are a fan of apps like Nearpod or Flipgrid, you can actually some of your textbooks, I believe in mathematics as well, are considered external tools. Those things can actually be added into Canvas, therefore keeping the kids locked in the program. They don't need to exit to use some of these things. So we're going to try out a couple of things that are considered external tools. And what I love about it, aside from locking, the kids within Canvas, is that you can also still use SpeedGrader. So if you've never used SpeedGrader before, it's just a way that you can view the individual assignment for each student. So we're going to try out a couple of fun tools today. All right, and Crystal, you are asking a specific question about exponents. If you could email me, if not, I will put something in my notes on my slide after this. And then someone asked a question about Respondus. Respondus, if you enable it as a teacher, you have to actually turn it on. It will lock the kids within their quiz, okay? But we are going to focus on external tools. So the first external tool we're going to talk about is Canvas Studio. This is by far one of my favorite tools. I love, love, love Studio. We are going to look at, it's in my same module right underneath these dice. It'll say External Tools Studio Video Quiz Sample. So if you click on this, I'm going to give you about a minute. If you've heard of Canvas Studio, you know that it's some sort of a video app, but I don't know if you know that you can also use it to add quizzes to those videos. So you're going to try that out. I'll give you about a minute or so. All you got to do is click, and you're going to follow the directions. So I'm going to pause. I'm going to mute myself so you can try it out. Okay, so just to confirm, hopefully all of you tried out my sample video quiz. If you're still doing it, it's okay. You can fast forward in the quiz if you want to skip to a question. Okay. But what you should have seen was and I'll demonstrate for you what it looks like on my end. I'm wondering, can you hear sound?
Yes, you can.
Oh, you can. Okay, good. I mean, if you guys already took the quiz, it won't matter, but actually, I'm going to lower the volume for myself so I can hear myself. But essentially what you guys should have seen on your side was a video, and then as you're watching the video, the questions are popping up. Yeah, someone put that they used it in the UDL course. UDL, I can't remember if they did it with the Studio app, or if they use something from outside. Many of you might be familiar with something called Edpuzzle or Genially. A lot of people love using those apps, but guess what? They're mostly, when I see other people using, they're using the free version of the app. And, you know, there's a lot of limitations when you use the free version of stuff. This is bought for you by OCPS. It's integrated into Canvas and it's really easy to use. So if you have not tried Studio, just to make a simple recording or, you know, do a webcast or whatever, definitely try it out for this. You can either use the video quizzes on your own videos that you've made, or you can use it with videos that you've pulled from YouTube. It does give you that option. And then of course, as the student goes through the quiz, you as the teacher, you can set it up to let them know whether or not they got all the results correct, or you can have it hold off on that information. I'm going to kind of skip through this. All right. And what I love about it too is that as a teacher, you also get some additional information as well. So when I click on Insights, I can find out how many viewers I had. I can check by individual students. I can see if, and I used to get this a lot with like kids that would say, oh, I don't know why I keep getting this quiz wrong. I watched the video, I did it. And I can tell because when I log in, I can see, oh, you only did 10% of the video, or it says that you were watching for 30 seconds. It actually gets pretty detailed as you start digging into some of these reports that are available. You can also enable captions, especially so if you're pulling videos from YouTube that don't already have those captions, or if you recorded the video yourself, let's say you're modeling a task, it'll actually add the captions for you if you just click on a button, which is really nice for your students that have accommodations, particularly your ELL and those that are hard of hearing. And then of course you can look at the quiz results for each student, which might take a while for me to load because usually it appears pretty quick. But we'll pretend that the quiz results are there. And all right, there's still some questions about exponents in the chat. If one of you could write me an email, it'll remind me to add information to my slides. And do you erase other statements made from previous years? I'm going to guess that that might be related to quizzes. All right, we're going to move on. Another thing I wanted to show you about Studio, especially if you've never explored it before, I'm going to click on the Studio button on the left side of my course. Okay, so this is the video that I put up into this course. If you look at the bottom, it has that YouTube symbol. You can tell I just found this random video on the Pythagorean theorem and put it in here. And I found it on YouTube. But if I wanted to record my own video, I can do that. All I have to do is click on the record button. I can choose to screen capture, which means it will record my screen, or I can do webcam, or you can actually do a combination of both. So if you want your face to appear plus whatever is going on your computer, you can actually do a combination of both. It does have a few simple editing tools. So if you needed to add something like, you know, pointing or a highlight, it does let you do a couple of those things. It's not super fancy. And it does let you, you know, snip out some things. It's not the best editing tool, but it does the job. And if you wanted to add a video, all you have to do is click the add button. And this is where you would either upload the file. So if you took a video with your cell phone or an iPad or a swivel, one of those things, you can add the file there, or you can just paste the link from either YouTube or Vimeo and just put it right there. Okay. And of course, since you are either a 6th through 12th grade teacher, all of the kids will have access to YouTube. If you ever run into a student that for whatever reason YouTube is not working for them or Studio isn't working for them, please, please, please put in a ticket. It could be that something's weird about their profile, that it's getting blocked for that particular student. Okay. It's usually a really easy fix. They just have to do like one little thing that will kind of refresh the kid's profile. Okay. And someone's asking a question about studios. Are they able to ask questions from year to year? Are you saying like maybe can they reuse a video from year to year? I'm not exactly sure what the question is, Garcino. If you could
Well,
clarify.
I made videos before where the students can ask the questions or make comments at the bottom.
Oh,
But
yes.
every single year, the same comments are seen. Like, I want to know, how can I delete those comments?
Okay, so yes. Okay, so what you're talking about is when I'll show you real quick. I think that'll be easier. When I add a video to a page, I'm gonna make a page. I made a sample module down here. Create assignment. We're gonna call that sample, but I don't have time to type that. All right, so I will show you quickly, by the way, how to add one of these videos to your page. So this will help everybody, I promise. All right, so when I'm making an assignment, okay, pretend I've written my directions up here. Okay, I made it look nice, I promise. As I scroll down where it says submission type, all right, you want to choose external tool. So when you click on external tool, this is the place where you can choose either a studio video or you can choose other things. If it's a Nearpod or a Flipgrid that you want to attach, this is the same place, the same exact step, okay? So if I click external tool and then I click on find, I'll see my list of things that I can attach. I'm going to look for where it says Canvas Studio, and what the wonderful question asker asked was something about discussion. So you can enable a discussion board underneath your video. And let's say I'm going to just choose this one on whatever this is, multiplication. Been doing a lot of videos lately. Where is it? Wait, did I actually? Yeah, it did select. Okay, so if I enable the media tab, it will essentially put like a discussion board underneath. The other option you have, if you recorded it as a quiz, instead of doing it as a quiz, it does give you another option of doing it as almost like an they call it annotation, where it gives some spaces on the side for students to respond. That might be one option that you might want to try, so that you don't see last year's responses. The other option that you have is to just upload the video again. So just getting the link again and then uploading it again and giving it a different title. Because I think when you do the display media tabs, it will save from it's just going to walk with you to each video. Okay, but one way to get rid of that would be either to get the link all over again, or when you're making it like a quiz, and I'll show you what that looks like. Here, I'm going to get out of this. Cancel. When you're making your video all over again, actually, I don't want to exit, but when you're making your video all over again and you're adding the quiz, instead of adding a quiz, you could do annotation, and it does have a thing on the side where students can discuss. So that might be another option, because that won't be visible from year to year. Okay. All right. Any questions about Studio? Okay. If you want more specific information about how to make videos and what kind of videos could you use in math class, because I could think of all sorts of fun things. I have a couple of things linked for you in my presentation. I actually have a video that I made that kind of gives you a crash course on Studio. It's 2 minutes long. You also have several guides that I've linked here for you. I've done a lot of trainings on Studio, so it's my passion project. But again, if you really want to learn more, you can always make an appointment with me. We can talk more about Studio, or you can kind of check out some of the resources that I've pasted here for you as well. I got a lot of good stuff, I promise. Oh, and on this next slide, I did put some ideas on what you could kind of utilize videos for in the classroom. All right, it is 1:36 and I have until 1:55. Okay, we got this, guys. We're going to learn about at least 2 more things before you leave. Okay, so the next tool that I would like all of you to try is something called Studymate. Now, usually when I show this to people, they seem to really like it. It's essentially a review tool that is built into Canvas. It's actually owned by the same company that does that Respondus lockdown browser. And when we bought that, they threw in the Studymate app for us for free. So it's a cool little bonus, but it's really, really neat. If you look in the module, I have something that says External Tools, Studymate Sample. So when a teacher makes a Studymate, you can make it as an assignment, which I did here. You can click on this and you can look at my directions and learn a little bit about Studymate. Or on the left-hand side of my course, you will see a link that says Studymate. The student can also access the Studymates from there. So if I click there, it'll take you to a page. Your page probably will not have all of the stuff that I do on it, but you'll see this stuff at the top. So what I would like all of you to do is click on Studymate and try one of these out and find out what it is. So I'm going to give you about 1 minute. It's 1:37. Alrighty, so hopefully you clicked on one of the examples that I opened up to the course. I am going to click on this first one. This one I stole from someone on the math secondary team. They made an Algebra 1 Studymate game or review. And when you click on a Studymate that someone has made, essentially what it is it's a really simple way to just kind of plug in information. And what the Studymate app does is that it generates these review activities or review games based on the information that you plugged in. So it has to be very basic information, things like a question and an answer, or a picture and maybe something that goes with that picture, like a title of some kind, vocabulary word definition, things like that. And when it's something simple, usually the games look pretty good. So we're going to look at, does this one not work? Here we go. So this particular teacher, the way that they designed it, they put a phrase and then something that goes with it. All right, this is kind of like a fact card, so like a review activity. You have, let's do matching. Okay, the question, and then I get to choose an answer and it tells me if I got it wrong or not, etc. Okay, now the activities change depending on the information that you put in. The most I've ever seen generated was like 12 different activities for something. Other types of information might get less activity. So it really just depends on the type of information you are inputting. And it's a very, very basic program. It's not a fancy thing like Nearpod or Lumio or any of those things, not by any means. And when you're making a new project, I'll show you real quick what that looks like. Just have to press the orange button. We're going to call this one sample. We're going to type some stuff there. Oh, we'll call this sample number 5. I probably have something else called sample. And here we go. I'm going to click on my sample 5 and edit it, and I'll show you what it looks like. When I mean simple, it basically, you're adding stuff. So anything that you can copy and paste will look really good here. It does let you upload a picture, but again, some activities won't work with the picture. So I don't know if you noticed in that previous screen, there was an option for like a crossword puzzle. Pictures and crossword puzzles don't usually work. So you might have to tell the students in advance, hey, there's pictures in my Studymate today, so don't do the crossword puzzle. But for the most part, most of the activities look pretty good. And you have 3 different options. for questions that you can put in. You can do definitions, you can do true questions with like multiple choice. And it does have an option to import as well. So if you have information or data on a spreadsheet, it actually lets you import those types of things as well. Or if you have things on a document that you can cut and paste, you can cut and paste, and that works pretty well as well. All right, and yeah, some people commented on some of the different games that are available. Yeah, flashcards, I think that was the first one that I clicked on for the Algebra 1 example. Oh, this is my, I don't want to look at my example. If I go back to home, it wasn't loading for me right away, so it could just be that yours is lagging. I'm not sure. But most of the activities usually look okay. You may want to test it out. Now, one thing that people always ask me when I show them Studymate, they always ask, is there a library of projects or of Studymates available? No, there is not. Unfortunately, it's not that type of program. It's just a design thing. So you can make Studymates, or you can copy Studymates from somebody else. So if you have a colleague on your PLC that made a cute Studymate that you would like to copy, if they share the link with you, because you can get the link for any Studymate that you've created, or you can just share from here, you can actually duplicate their Studymate. So you can do that. And one other thing to note is that if you do make a Studymate an assignment within Canvas, it does let you give it a grade, but this is a true review activity. It's a review app. So really the only information you're getting from the students that have actually completed one of your Studymates is whether or not they did it. It doesn't tell you how many they got right or wrong or anything like that. It's just how much time did they spend on it. So again, you have to decide whether or not this is something that will work for your particular learning objective. Again, it works best for things that are reviews. So if you just need them to study a bunch of formulas or math facts, things that they just need to memorize, this might be a tool that you can incorporate as one of your activities in class. Okay. All right. And again, if you want to learn how to create a Studymate, or if you want to check out my other examples, I have all of those things linked on this particular slide. In fact, the guide, I'm the one that made the guide. It should have every possible question that you might ask me. But if you find that you did not, if you're trying to do something, you can't quite figure it out, just let me know. I'll add it to my guide. Or I believe linked on the guide, I have the Studymate website on there as well. They have a bunch of really good tutorial videos. They don't have a lot of guides, and I'm a reader, I'm not a video watcher. But they do have really good videos, and usually the videos are only 1 or 2 minutes long, and that's how I've picked up a lot of my information on Studymate. But definitely check it out. It might be something that you might want to try this year. All right, it is 1:44. I have about 10 more minutes, so maybe we can do 2 more tools. We'll see. All right, we're going to exit back out. We're going to go to the module. And I mentioned earlier, I don't think we'll have time to really look at this, but I think if you want to check it out on your own, you can totally do that. I have some things on here that say external tool Flipgrid, external tool Nearpod. If you're a fan of using Nearpod, and if you don't know what Nearpod is, it's like a cool interactive presentation app that people usually use outside of Canvas. If you're curious about seeing what that looks like if it's embedded into Canvas, I would definitely check out these 2 pages. You can actually have your Nearpods or a Flipgrid activity integrated into your Canvas course. That way the kids don't have to enter a special code or log in. It's really, really, really neat. I would definitely check it out. You can actually embed it into your assignment the same way that I was showing you with the Studio assignment. You just have to add it as an external tool. So definitely check that out. I think a lot of people are usually familiar with Nearpod. I'm not going to make you do the example. It looks the same. What's neat about it is that it does let you grade it within Canvas. So you as the teacher don't even have to exit Canvas. So that's kind of cool. And Flipgrid, if you've never heard of Flipgrid, it's a discussion board app, but it uses video. So you can actually do a discussion with video. So it'd be really neat for like video tutorials or getting the kids to talk about problems. You can use it for exit tickets. It's really neat. They also just recently went through a name change. So they're no longer called Flipgrid. They are called Flip. And I have some information on both of those things on this slide. But the two tools that I really, really, really want to show you before I leave today, before you leave me today, are these two items, the Annotation Tool and the Canvas collaborations. Annotation Tool is relatively new. They just opened this up last year in Canvas, last summer, and people really like it. If you were a fan of Cami, if any of you have ever tried that Cami app that was really popular 2 years ago during the pandemic, you will like the Annotation Tool. Essentially, it's a PDF annotation tool. Okay. So if you'd like to check that out, if you're in my module, I have something labeled Annotation Tool Sample, and I'll show you what it looks like from the student view. I'm going to click on Student View. And I think this was a document that I stole from one of the CRMs, one of the older CRMs for, I can't remember if this was 7th grade math or Algebra 1. Not sure, but I stole it from someone in secondary. And I just converted it into a PDF. But essentially what the annotation tool does is that when you upload a PDF as an assignment, okay, it gives the kids this toolbar that's at the top, and it will let me annotate. So I can highlight, I can add text, I can draw in multiple colors. What else can I do? I can cross things out. So it gives you all sorts of really, really, really neat options. So if you liked Cami, guess what? This is free. OCPS has it for you, and it's part of Canvas. You don't need to worry about integrating something. You don't need to send kids to some other website. The kid doesn't need to save the PDF to their device and then upload it or anything like that. It makes life very, very easy. And of course, pretend I'm the kid and I did a great job on this assignment. If I scroll all the way down, all I got to do is click submit, and I'll show you what it looks like as the teacher. Going to give me confetti, of course, because I did a great job. Going to leave the student view. My computer's going slow today, but when I'm looking at it from the teacher side, I can click on speed grader and I can see how the student did on the annotation assignment. Now, obviously Canvas will not grade this assignment for you. Okay, you have to look at it to grade it. But when I'm here in SpeedGrader, it'll tell me who has completed the assignment. Oh, Oscar, thank you so much. You actually tried to answer this. I appreciate you, sir. You know, let's say he did an awesome job. I can give him his point. I can add a comment. It refreshes whenever I add the point. I can also annotate on top of this. So maybe Oscar made a mistake. I can take my highlighter or my little pen and I can, you know, oh, it's doing some weird stuff there, but pretend that I actually highlighted on his problem. We'll try the pen. I might say, Oscar, I need you to look at this, and then write a comment. Okay, so Desiree, that's a good question. Is the confetti an automatic feature? So it is an automatic feature, and I honestly did not know that it did that until someone pointed it out to me. Whenever a student submits an assignment, for whatever reason, Canvas automatically just does the confetti thing. It's yay, you submitted an assignment. It's not because they got a good grade on it or anything. Okay. Still can't type exponents. Wendy, I'll find out for you, I promise. If someone emails me, I promise to research it for you. All right, so hopefully you like the annotation tool. It is 1:50, so I got 5 more minutes and I'm going to show you one more thing. Oh, actually, you know what? I should show you how to add an annotation assignment. So I will do that very quickly. So when you are editing your assignment, you make a brand new assignment, you're on this screen. If you scroll down to where it says submission type, okay, you have to choose online because they're going to submit their assignment online. And one of your options is student annotation. So if you click student annotation and then you upload a document, it has to be either a PDF or a Word document. Okay, you can't do a Google Doc. I don't believe it'll take Pages if any of you have a MacBook out there, but it will take a PDF or a Word doc. I have not tried a picture. You could try uploading a picture, like if you took a picture of a workbook or something, that might work. And then once you do that, then they'll see the nice toolbar over your document that they can annotate themselves. Is MathNation Interactive Workbook an external tool? I want to say yes, but I think Wilma might have to answer that one. So Wilma Cancel, if you're still in the
Yes.
chat, it is. Okay.
Yeah. Well, no, I'm still here. I was replying to somebody in the chat, so I didn't hear that question.
Oh, someone put something about, is the MathNation book, is that an external tool in Canvas? Do you know?
I don't
Some of
think
the
we have
math
the
stuff
answer
is.
to that yet. And once Skyward syncs up with our Launchpad, we'll be able to see.
I can research
yeah,
that. I know who to
right.
ask to find out this, but I do not know this
Yeah.
question right now.
Yeah, I don't have the answer
And
either.
again, math just adopted a bunch of books too, so that's.
Hi, can you hear me? I've been using MathNation, syncing with the, it is an external tool. If you click on the external tool and select MathNation, there's only 3 things that can be linked to it, and that would be the check understanding, test yourself, and XSL. Only those 3 things. The stepping stone that's new this year, I haven't tried that, but all the other workbook, they don't link into here.
Okay. One thing that could be done, I guess, if you do have a workbook, if it has PDF files that they let you download, you can always upload that as an annotation assignment. That might be an option. You could also take pictures of things that you have in your classroom and upload that, put that out there, and I'll exit that question. All right, last thing I want to show you, because I got 2 minutes and I have to go to Elementary Best and present to them about reading. Try this one out, because I think this one's different or new for a lot of folks. We have something in Canvas now called Canvas Collaborations, which I didn't make an actual page for, but I'd like for you to try it out. On the left-hand side, you have a button that says Collaborations. So when you click there, I should have probably put myself in student view, but if you click there, you are going to see that you have been assigned to a group. So you're either in group 1, 2, or 3. And if you click on your group, it's going to actually take you to a document that I made. I think it's actually a Google Slides presentation. And what Canvas Collaborations is, and I'll show you what that slide looks like on here. It's basically a way for the teacher to create a Google document or a Google presentation for a group of students and then assign a group of students automatically to that document. The kids don't have to log into Google Drive. You don't have to type everybody's email address. The kids don't have to share email addresses with each other. So it all stays within Canvas, which is really, really nice. And you actually have the ability to turn this on and off in your course. So right now, these are my collaborations and they're visible. If I just go to settings, I can disable collaborations and the kids don't see the collaborations anymore. It's really nice. So I'm going to click on group 1. Hopefully someone from group 1 clicked on this and we can see you guys doing something. But when you create one of these, it just gives you a blank document. All I did was copy and paste from another slideshow and just paste it into my document in advance. So this example I made, I took it from one of the CRMs. I don't exactly remember which grade level, but it's a sort activity that I kind of invented. It was like a worksheet that we could print out and cut up and people could do a sort in their classroom. Well, guess what? I don't know about you, but anytime I ever had kids doing a sorting activity in my classroom, all of those little pieces of paper would disappear or they would get touched or fingerprints all over it. And it would just be really gross and nasty. And then by 7th period, all of that stuff would be just terrible. If you do it digitally, you know, that stuff doesn't happen. The kids don't lose anything. They can do this. I can check while they're working. So if I'm occupied with another group or another team, or if I'm circulating throughout the room, I can just have Canvas open on my laptop and just kind of quickly look at each document and be like, oh, okay, Johnny's group is doing good. They're actually doing something. So, it saves copies and it saves your sanity as far as taking care of those copies in your classroom. So if you want to learn more, I made a guide on how to use Canvas collaborations, and I'm totally willing to help you try this out in your classroom because I'd like to see some more people check it out. But the guide is there. And one piece of advice that I would recommend is that you use it with groups. So if you've never done groups in Canvas, I put links on how to make groups because it'll make your life a little bit easier if you just assign a group of kids. That way you don't have to individually put, 5 kids, 10 kids into a document. All right. And someone I think was going to ask a question because I heard a mic turn on. If you have a question,
Yes.
go for it.
No, Miss Annette,
Mhm.
I was going to ask, but I can email you if you had to go in detail. I was going to ask, is the Google Jamboard, because I know that was like a question, is that?
Is that one of the things? No, I
Yeah.
wish it
Yeah.
was.
Oh, okay.
So I'll show you real quick what it does let you make. So I'm going to click where it says start a new collaboration.
Mm-hmm.
And this is what it shows me. So, that's not what I wanted to click on. It gives me the option of doing a document, a spreadsheet, or a presentation. So
Yes, ma'am.
Jamboard is not there right now. I'm going to
Okay.
guess that in the next couple months, they might add it in the future. This is pretty new.
Okay.
So I'm hoping that it'll be something that they will add in the future. But the next best thing would probably be the presentation if
Okay,
you want
then.
something that looks similar to a Jamboard. And then this is what I was talking about when you assign kids to something. So right now, this is the list of students in my class. If I don't have groups already, I just have to click on all the people that I want in a particular document. But if I had grouped people already, I'm going to delete these folks now. But if I had already grouped people already into these groups, I could just click on a group. So
Okay.
that kind of makes life a little bit easier.
And would that be able to change from task to task if I wanted to? Okay.
Yes. So if you've never done groups before, you just have to go to the people button. And then when you go there, it has a groups tab at the top. Usually, like most people can kind of figure it out. Like if you wanted to make a new set and you just kind of follow the directions on the screen, it kind of walks you through it. If not, just look at the guide and it tells you. But basically, you can drag people into a group. Or I think what I did for this one, because I didn't know anybody, I just had it automatically make the groups for me. Like I told it, oh, I want 3 groups, just make them. And then
Oh,
you can
okay.
give it some parameters.
Okay.
So you can group people by maybe their scores on an assessment. You can group people by, I don't know, their last name,
Annette,
however you want to do it.
sorry to interrupt you. I don't think anyone was able to actually get into the collaborations from the chat. None of
No.
us were in groups. For me, it gave me the opportunity to like create a group, but I didn't do that. But none of us, I don't think, were able to see it.
All right. Well, my time is up and I really do have to get going. However, while I'm transitioning to my other one, I'm going to see what I did wrong. Maybe I did my groups too early for this class.
And
Because it shows I have people in it.
well, if
So
you have a guide, would you have a guide link to that and that we can be able to look at too, Miss Annette?
yeah,
Okay.
I do. So if you click on the guide that I linked in the presentation, I took screenshots of everything that you got to do.
Okay. I made
And
a
if you
copy of
guys
it.
run into any trouble, just email me and I can walk you through something.
Thanks, Annette.
All
Okay,
right. Thank you, Miss Annette.
guys, I hope you have a wonderful day. Enjoy your school year and please, please, please try something out, at least one thing. And email me if you have a
And
question.
thank you, Wilma.
Bye, Oscar.
Hi, you're welcome.
Bye, Annette.
So for those who don't know where we're going back to our course cohorts.